IVM.
And presenting the IVM Likes, where the IVM staff sit down, hold hands and meditate. Then remove their clothes and discuss pop culture, things they like and dislike. All this because life is important, especially when you're lonely. New episodes out on the IVM podcast website, app, or wherever you get your podcasts from. Kripaya dhyan dijiye. The language used on the podcast may not be fit for consumption. We warn you, tread carefully. But listen, yaar, don't be so conservative.
You're listening to Cyrus Says.
Namita Devidayal is a journalist with the Times of India, and she's also the curator of the Times Litfest in Mumbai, and she lives in Beach Candy and has 17 children. She's a trained Hindustani classical vocalist. We'll listen to her before we actually talk to her. I don't think we should do this interview. No, I'm kidding. Namita Devidayal.
Why follow your auntie's advice when you can follow Cyrus Says on Facebook and Twitter to stay updated about the latest shows?
Yep, Cyrus Says on Children's Day. That's when we're recording this. I've had enough of Children's Day and people saying how lovely children are the future. Who was it? Lionel Richie, Michael Jackson, one of those children who sings. I can't bear Children's Day and the idea of giving children more days. All right? Children are not innocent. That is the biggest lie in literature. There is no innocent children. Innocent parents, yes. Not innocent children. We go out of our way to save our children, make their lives better. Nobody even thanks us for it. It's innocent parents. They should have a Parents' Day, not Children's Day. Screw Children's Day. But that's how we got children in the first place. You know what I mean. It's called Cyrus Says.
And that's what Cyrus Says.
All right, started off with the theme of Children's Day, and I have Namita Devidayal with us.
Hello.
Head girl from my school, if I remember correctly, back in the 40s when we were both young.
Exactly.
You, of course, look very fresh. I, on the other hand, look even older. Huge career, but two parallel things that we've noticed is one, the love for music, which we'll come to, obviously, and Indian classical music,
right,
of which you are an exponent.
Right.
And of which I'm an amateur performer. Are you going to teach me some?
I'm going to. It's my abiding mission to make Indian classical music cool.
I think so.
Yeah.
About time.
Yeah, really.
So I think on this podcast itself, I should be able to wet my feet a little.
Of
right?
course.
Because I've come from a background where my father would put his fingers in his ears if Kishori Amonkar was somewhere in the background.
Right.
You know. By the way, she stays next to my friend Kunal. Well, she's no longer with us.
Right.
But she used
Kunal is still with us, right?
Kunal. Yes, he survived Kishori's onslaught. But they stay in the same building in Prabhadevi.
Oh, nice.
And apparently he's quite bad-tempered. But she's even worse-tempered, or rather was worse-tempered.
Right.
So they lived in fear. The residents of Vaibhav Apartments, Prabhadevi, lived in fear.
That just sounds like a Netflix serial right there.
It does. These two artists in the building of varying talents that we won't get into.
Yes.
But always fighting with everyone, screaming at everyone. You know, Kunal's kind of guy when they invite him for Republic Day parade, flag hoisting. Now! It is the morning!
Fantastic.
It's like that. Yeah, fabulous. Kishori was
But
worse.
they could both speak Marathi, so maybe on that level.
This is Prabhadevi. If you don't speak Marathi, you can't buy any vegetables.
That is true. That is
Very
true.
unfair. Namita, let's talk about you.
Yes.
As usual, I digress. Put your hand up and slap the table if you think I'm going somewhere else with it. Let's talk about you. We have to talk about, firstly, the journalist career, where you come from, the backgrounds, etc. We spoke to your sister, by the way.
I know. And you spoke about me, and I think she was mildly offended.
Really?
And I was, of course, very amused.
Oh, I can't remember. But I didn't say anything. I wouldn't say anything bad.
No.
I doubt. Oh, she was upset that her footies was being cowed by the sister.
Little.
I tell you,
Big sister
sibling
issues.
rivalry. When will that end? Yee. Namita Devidayal is a journalist with the Times of India. You're much more than a journalist. You run the Times of India. They say that if you take Panga with Namita, you'll never work in Bombay again. This is what I hear.
Not, but I have been there since I was born.
What?
I mean, I've been there about almost 22 years on and off, largely on, and it's a little scary.
22 years of a career.
Yeah.
Is it your first?
It was my first job when I failed at my attempt to become an Indian classical singer.
So you and Rahul Gandhi have the same thing in common here, in the sense that you're still in the same first job.
Fully.
I would say that about the Prime Minister as well, but I'm scared.
But many digressions.
Really?
Yeah.
No, but that's more like on the side.
Yes, on the side.
You still stayed true to your path.
I wouldn't say that journalism is my first and abiding love, because writing is. So I've written 3 books.
Oh, so it's the other way around. Writing is the love and journalism was the paying the bill thing.
A little bit. I mean, I don't consider myself a very sort of ongoing serious journalist as much as I'd like to be. But I think I just
What
like...
is this? Why do we all have these charts and these things on our head?
So I'm a storyteller. I would say I'm a storyteller. And so whether it's in, the format of a newspaper or a book or, whatever, even now audio. It's about storytelling. It's about engaging people with things that they wouldn't otherwise notice and doing it well so that they actually stay attentive.
But why do we have to be serious journalists? Why can't the journalists just be whatever they're trying to portray or look at or investigate or discuss?
So I don't consider myself serious at all.
Hasn't Ordnab changed the game?
Oh my God. My last time on his show, he shouted me out, and after that I vowed never again.
He shouted you out?
Yeah, he said
Imagine
that
what he's like at a restaurant.
Oh, completely. He said that...
What I'm thinking, I said. Never get me paneer tikka. I'm just thinking. It won't be fun, right? Cocktail parties, you suddenly hear him screaming. Yeah.
So I guess it's about storytelling, and it's also about writing about things that seem like they're not that important, but actually they are. So my most funny last article was about the Palanpuris, because I was quite fascinated by the community.
The community who moved from Ghatkopar to Malba Hill and bought everything around me?
Pretty much. And also my building.
Why didn't you take a couple of notes from me?
Yeah, so I kind of got really into it after the Nirav Modi scandal.
I smuggled the mutton in, by the way. I'm sorry.
Oh, Lord.
we won't get into that. Sorry, Nirav Modi scandal?
No, I discovered that it's the most closed club of people, and it was quite interesting to watch how they operate both in business and personally, and they sort of move in without you even knowing that what's hit you.
Sounds like Sicilians.
Yeah, exactly.
But aren't we all like that?
In that very quiet, eggless way.
First good joke of our podcast goes to Namita. Put pressure on the jokester. I'm in a lot of trouble now. Yeah, that's hilarious. But aren't we all like that as Indians?
Oh my God. No? No.
What are you saying?
I'm serious.
I always feel that we've got this nepotism which is underlying or latent, whether we like it or not.
Actually, not in Bombay.
No, you wouldn't say that?
No, that's what I love about Bombay.
I say Namita would not, what would you be, UP descent?
I'm sort of from the north, but I speak Marathi.
No, so I would say...
My best friend is Parsi, blah, blah, blah.
So in your case, I wouldn't say the nepotism is to do with the ethnicity or the background. That's not a strong imprint. I would say it's to do with the type of people you've grown up with. So you would like those types to come in. In a way, there is a prejudice, is there not?
That Bermuda Triangle of Cathedral, Willingdon Club,
something like that.
Gym.
Something like that. Yeah, that perhaps a little broader than that.
Which includes Start in Switzerland, by the way.
Oh,
Start.
Does it?
Yeah.
This is the finishing school, is it?
No, it's the ski slopes.
Oh, the Start. Right.
Oh, sorry, I got the pronunciation.
I just thought you were Bengali for a moment. What should we start? Sorry, I interrupted your flow again. We were discussing, so you're a storyteller first and foremost. And then how did you become a journalist? Where did the idea... we'll have to rewind a bit. And first, we'll look at school also, but first, Princeton. So
right.
What were you doing in Princeton? What was the idea there?
I went because my mom was a tiger mom and made sure that I went to a good school in America. And I really don't know why I went there. I think she was telling me to go to Yale, and I got into both, and so I chose Princeton, if you know what I mean. It was just kind of...
I can't remember now, but Princeton is a chip above? Was?
It's, they're all the same.
All Ivy League,
they're
right.
kind of posh.
Don't show off.
Yeah.
Posh overachievers.
Yeah, really. And I was I'm not sure, it's like every class you take is taught by a Nobel laureate. So you kind of osmotically become semi,
And when you use words like osmotically, you already know that you've gone to Princeton 3 times, at least, and not just as visiting faculty.
Right.
So while there, what was the plan?
I actually had none, and I majored in a subject that I was remotely not interested in.
Which was?
Politics.
Huh?
So, but then I discovered my love for
Trump.
writing.
Who knew politics in America? Nobody knew anything.
It
was Kennedy
awful.
and Trump. There's nothing in between.
And it was utterly dull. And so I just was sort of fumbling my way through. But the part that I really loved was working at the Daily Princetonian, where I was one of the editors, and also taking some amazing writing seminars with really top New York Times journalists and writers. And I think that was a pretty shaping moment for me in the writing front.
So what would you do in a seminar like that?
So they used to give us assignments on all kinds of things. The one I really remember was how to write about science in a accessible, readable way, which I think would really change all our lives, right? Because here we just taught maths and science in this
by the third line, we've lost interest.
Pretty much.
Bit like our podcast.
Exactly.
It's about 4 lines and then they're like, okay, what's on Pornhub?
Right.
And I do that myself, so I can't blame them, yeah.
So I think that kind of this idea of making really arcane subjects interesting and accessible and lively. I mean, it's kind of what I feel about Indian classical music. It's like the idea of, taking something that's considered all old fuddy-duddy and very...
No, and you have to kill that chasm because we have in our mind that it's discerning listener, got to be educated and cultivated and sophisticated enough for it.
Yeah.
Hence, I don't qualify, so I'm below it. That's also a huge issue.
Oh, absolutely. And it's all rubbish.
So we wouldn't attend it also as a concept. I'll be I'll be out of place because everybody else will be clapping at the right time and moving their heads in the right way.
Right.
And I'll be the only guy going, wow!
And the average age will be 80, which is actually
which
really
is now
tragic.
catching up. So,
exactly.
Not the biggest issue. Yeah.
This is true. Let's not go there.
Not as good as eggless. Yeah.
And
So making it boring, tedious subjects or complex subjects a little more
yeah,
interesting.
which are actually, nothing is complex. It's all about how you present it, right? Like my favorite example is that, the Tom and Jerry cartoons in the West, their background score is usually taken from like Western classical riffs.
Yeah. William
which
Tell, or which are all the time played.
Amazing, right? Because so what you're doing is creating an ambient environment which is like of Western classical scores.
So a kid in Jabalpur who's never heard of Rossini can now do the whole William Tell start to finish without knowing it.
So why can't we do that with our own thing? But that's
Also,
because I have this theory.
Sorry.
I was
Father called him Jerry. Sorry, go on.
What?
Just as an aside, I was just thinking, if the whole family watches Tom and Jerry, then they'll all start getting names like that. This is my son, Barbara. This is Hannah. This is Tom. This is Jerry. We are the Srivasthavs.
Right.
Sorry. Please continue.
But we already do that, right? We have these like weird names.
I love that. I love that when they have names which are just not making sense.
Right.
For whatever reason, especially if it's just the one name in the family, which is odd.
Right. Give me an example.
So I had these 4 friends and only one was called Larry. Okay, the others had typical Punjabi names like
Avantika
Upinder and Avantika and whatever. And the one guy was called Larry.
Superb.
It wasn't a pet name. He was called Larry.
Oh, really?
Because the father worked for a guy, American guy called Larry something.
Superb.
So he named him Larry. The whole life the guy's called Larry in just a very hard Punjabi speaking area of Punjab.
That's just lovely.
Beautiful. But
it's better than being called Happy.
But Happy normally is a pet name. So,
no, not at all.
So is that on the passport?
Fully.
So when you go into immigration, the guy goes, Mr. Happy. Haji. I mean,
Usually it's Ms. Happy.
Is it?
Hanji.
I've known a happy male. I've known a happy... And I'm not making a sexist comment here, but I've known no happy female.
Watch out, Cyrus.
Ouch. Me Too coming soon.
We live in tough times.
The sequel to Me Too. Me 3. Just my wild imagination.
Right.
Namita, please take over. It's your show. Others will keep transgressing and go
So, I wrote a book about Indian classical music, about my teacher. It was quite beloved.
So let's understand background again. Cathedral School is very upmarket Tony school. And when you would learn Indian classical, as in that was one of the things you did on the side.
Well, my mother forced me to go to one class.
No, but the mother, somebody must have been a doyen or a
No, there's nothing in my family. We're
why would
pure Banya business family.
They didn't like you.
Exactly.
All right.
And so I think to get me out of the way, she'd send me to this little class in Kennedy Bridge, which also happened to be... Yeah.
Let me explain to people outside Mumbai. Kennedy Bridge is also where the sort of red light area is.
Fully.
Not the safest place to send a young 10, 12-year-old girl.
Yeah, so that's why you can see my
Okay,
halat.
Namita, stop it. No more jokes for you.
So I would go there and my teacher lived there. So just by the way, this whole red light area also happened to be where a lot of like senior musicians lived, because in those days there was a blurring of it wasn't like cheapy stuff. Like the really great musicians would.
Go
Cyrus
for it.
is smiling.
I love it.
And he's really excited about this.
So we have Zakir Hussain, and of course money wasn't good in those days. So
It's actually true.
yeah, in those days.
And in fact, a lot of them used to play for the Hindi film industry, but under pseudonyms because they needed to make the money, but they kind of like...
Their art respect goes with the film industry.
Yeah, because you had a like hereditary sitar player sitting next to a bongo player from Goa, and like jamming for the
caste
music.
system there also. What's wrong with my poor bongo cousin? That's so unfair. Look at our country. Even in music, there's I am a sitar player. I cannot be next to this bongo guy. Bongo guy, piche jao.
Wait, but udhar nahi hota tha aise.
What are you saying, really?
Yeah, because that's how they had to do it. So there were a lot of like, it was less stratified than it is today. So yeah.
What is the name of the lady? Is this the lady in the book?
Yeah.
The famous book as well?
Dhondutai.
Actual name or that's the name of
no,
a
that's
character?
her name. That was really the person I went to. She hated Kishori, by the way. So Kunal may have got on with Dhondutai.
Her name was Kulkarni.
Yes.
There might be some rivalry that we don't know.
Right.
Two villages side by side,
Right,
somewhere
exactly.
outside Pune. Why did she hate Kishori as an aside?
I think because Kishori...
took all the credit and...
became
So
really
jealousy, you're
famous.
saying, more than...
Well, yeah, they had their own sort of spaces of, rivalry. And it was like their asset, right? The arts was their
So
asset.
this is Hindustani classical we're talking about. As against Carnatic vocals, which is something totally different. Just don't laugh at me. There's a lot of lay people listening. Out of the 12 people who... My parents, no idea, for example. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's Hindustani, which is North Indian classical
So
music.
just vaguely, just give us the distinction. North versus South, is that it?
I'm not... Yeah, it is pretty much.
Not
It's
much.
It's like a different
Can you do
school.
both, but?
No.
Really?
There are many who can, but I can't. I can barely do...
but
I can barely
I'm saying
talk
top
these
professionals,
days.
can they do both Carnatic vocals and Hindustani?
No, it's always very
Can they do them
distinctive.
simultaneously? I mean, that would be great. I'd pay money. I'm just making fun. Listen. And you know nothing, you just, come across as a jerk. That's my biopic, by the way.
You're not a jerk.
Yeah. Oh, please, I'm a happy jerk. Huh.
Happy jerk.
Yeah. Yes, so let's go back to, you went to the class.
So I went to the class and
How
it
old
was,
were you?
like I started when I was 10. It was very traumatic because, so you know in Cathedral School, they used to have those inter-house music competitions.
Of course. And they had Indian and Western separate.
Yeah, they had the Indian and Western. I was always picked up by my Savage House captain to go and sit year after year and do the Indian classical. And it used to be like traumatic for me because all my friends would be like, oh, she forgot the words. She's doing over there and like make fun of me. So instead of getting excited that I won points for the bloody house.
So you won every year with Indian classical.
But it was also like my downfall, like socially.
But all these westernized kids, elitist monkeys around you, made fun and poked fun at you.
You hear me?
Wherever you are. You nearly gave us such a complex. But the narcotics are behind you now. That's over. Why are you making that face? It's a liberal country. 2019 elections round the corner. Worry not. You can play the sitar wherever you go. Nobody bothers.
True.
So you were obviously good at it.
I was good at it. I was trained. I was like sort of proper and I would sing.
How did the parents take to it? I mean, it was like a hobby and then suddenly you're singing well and winning prizes.
So they were also a little baffled because when I came back from Princeton, I actually went and spent a year trying to become a professional classical singer.
Wow.
And I would take the train to Borivali every day and sometimes spend the night and
Wait, hold that thought. Just the fact that a cathedral school girl who went to Princeton University takes a train to Borivali every day after all that. I mean, that's beautiful.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy.
That's the richest to rag story that I wanted to hear all along.
No, but I think it weirded my parents out because when you go to Princeton, you're meant to kind of come back and take over the universe,
Absolutely.
right? And here I was taking the train from Grant Road to Borivali. And
you should have owned Borivali by then. You should be signing off property. Borivali is mine. Rustamji, you get to build here. The rest is mine. Yeah.
So,
how did that pan out? Who was the teacher?
So they had Dhondutai, my old teacher.
She now moved to Borivali.
She had moved to Borivali.
Was that a
just because she got a little flat and had her own place.
Anything away from Kennedy Bridge,
right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was an interesting time because I was really exploring this whole thing, and my sisters would roll their eyes and just pretend that I was working in a bank. And then...
are you serious? Are you joking?
Everyone was embarrassed about it.
I can imagine coming up from South Mumbai background, professionals and this and that. I can imagine people could be a little taunting if nothing else.
And then luckily for all of them and perhaps me, I just could not deal with the whole rigor.
Did you perform though?
I used to perform behind my teacher all over the country.
You did?
Yeah.
So you went on stage and did shows all over?
But not by myself. I'd accompany her. But yeah,
isn't that the way? There's a succession that you follow.
Yeah,
is that the way?
Exactly.
And then in the fullness of time, you come into the forefront and excellent. Not like our podcast. Whoever turns up.
Right.
Wow. So very interesting, Namita. So you were on the edge of being an actual top class, top flight, forever professional Hindustani vocalist.
I don't know about the top class, but a Hindustani vocalist. Well, and so then
once people pay money, you're a top class because people are paying money to hear you.
Right.
Whether you like it or
right.
not.
Right. After that, my parents said, okay, do this for a year and really give it all you've got. And then at the end of that year, I was just like, oh my God, this is not happening. Because my friends were all they were earning money and they were doing normal things. And I just copped out and I joined the Times of India.
And before that, is it true that Princeton put out an ad saying, join Princeton, finish your dreams in Borivali East?
West, by the way.
West, was it?
A very nice bucolic West. It's much nicer.
Let's have a real elite conversation. Which part is better?
But the Sanjay Gandhi National Park is on the east, by the way, so that's very lovely.
Whatever tigers are left, because under the present regime,
this is true.
Left, right and center. And apparently the funny thing, now that we digress, Avni, the best part is the hunters claim self-defense. And all the vets have pointed out that the tiger wasn't facing the hunter.
Oh, that's
so unless
horrible.
She was farting or something, I can't think of what. It's ridiculous.
It's horrible.
It's absolutely.
I mean, let's not go to Baikala Zoo also, which is one of my favorite little spots.
Poor penguins. You put the penguins in Baikala. They come from the Arctic. This is Baikala, South Mumbai. Whatever. Who are we? Let's get back to your life. So then, when did the moment happen when you say, I can't take this anymore? And considering that you've already taken all the taunts, I would think that you're over the hump of, teasing and what have you.
No, it's a very difficult profession, right? Because you don't know what the final result is going to be. There's no sort of hierarchy
Were you getting
career.
paid even though you were
No, not at all. So I was just feeling very...
Guru Dakshina sort of...
No, nothing. There's nothing. You just kind of do it with a lot of faith and you hope to just find your way through it. And
So when you're an apprentice for a big name, you don't get any finance?
no, where would you get the finance? Like HDFC is not going to say, "Acha, we're going to like."
No, but I'm presuming that when Dhondutai is performing, etc.,
No,
nothing
not at
trickles
all.
down, is it?
Because it's really one of those strange areas where even she's getting paid like much less, or any classical artist is just not, unless you're Zakir Hussain.
To discourage people from joining this profession, let's quickly tell them the numbers. Give them some numbers. How much do you get paid if you're like
I mean, it really
decently
depends.
well-known?
If you're a celebrity
Let's
artist,
leave out the top 10 or whatever, because obviously
Oh.
anywhere they'll do well.
nothing. Like I would say, like a young, upcoming but really good artist would get a max of like maybe 50,000 for a performance.
Wow. When can I sign up? 50K?
For a performance,
And they're not even like full words. From what I remember, it's like, I mean, I was like, where's the full word? I mean, is that wrong?
But
Is
it's
that
not
rude?
like there are that many performances,
Come on.
right? So
Namita, we'll have to take a quick break. So quickly, can you teach us a couple of, what is the word? Not rags. No, that's not the right word. Notes?
So, like, should
Sur?
I sing
Yes,
something
yes,
for
yes.
you?
Please. So what is that?
I just sang a bit of Des, Rag Des.
Okay, so just to learn that will take like...
About a lifetime, Cyrus.
Luckily, I have nothing else to do. We'll take a break and we'll come back. Namita Devidayal, lots to talk about. Times of India, the famous Times Litfest coming up, her new books, and lots more when we come back after the break in 2 seconds.
Advertising is dead. Yep, you heard me right. Advertising is dead. We're all in the content business now. Let's not call it news, TV, radio, etc., etc. It's all content, and we're in the middle of this weirdly exciting phase where all the borders and lines that have been drawn over decades has been swept away by this lovely thing called the internet. We're a show where we don't dwell on just the stuff that is now, but rather the wider stuff about advertising, media, content, and the whole goddamn circus surrounding it. Tune in every Tuesday for our weekly unboxing of the mystery box we used to call advertising. I'm Varun Dugirala, co-founder and content chief at The Glitch, and this is my new podcast, Advertising is Dead.
All right, welcome back. We're with Namita Devidayal, who is not telling us her designation in TOI, which is what? Super managing editor.
No, I'm a consultant.
Godfather.
I'm not even on the rolls. I don't get medical benefits.
I hear.
I have to show like an ID when I enter and all.
Oh, that's the beautiful part of India.
Even though now me and the peon are the oldest people over there.
Yeah, but that's the one. The watchman is the most powerful person anywhere in India.
This is true.
Whether it's a school, whether it's a bank, wherever you go, it's the watchman who's the guy. I have a lot of respect. I've told my son watchman, but he's not a uniform person. That's
But you know, the watchman of the Times of India managed to keep the Kasab and all the terrorists away when they attacked the Times. They actually managed
How
to
did they
do
do that?
I think they
They
just
just
shut the
door,
doors.
Yeah, and Kasab wasn't the most intelligent.
No.
It was like 2 locks, too much for me. I walk on. Something like that.
Let me move to the hospital.
All right, no more jokes on that. Let's
I know.
go on to we have so much to talk about. We won't have enough time. The music room is what really made you famous in the literary world.
I guess.
The opening book where...
The highlight was that Mick Jagger loved it.
Yeah, there's lots of names here. Sonia Gandhi, Ram Guha.
Yeah, so Sonia Gandhi called me for chai
you
and
kidding
chatted
me?
about it. Yeah, it was quite sweet. And she was like all like auntie-like and very un-ogre-like, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Unnecessary, but yes. So you went and met her.
Yeah, I
and
did.
This is when they were in power.
I can't even remember, but I think so. Congress was in power.
I think till 2005 to 14 they were in power, somewhat.
Yeah, and she was like one Italian auntie, and she said, "My grandchildren don't listen to Indian music." And I said, "Yeah, so bad."
And did she give you an offer you can't refuse? Was this part of
Yeah, the Rajya Sabha membership. Yeah, of course.
that? You said, no, I want parking first.
Exactly.
All these members of parliament
I was
taking
like,
chakkars.
I can't leave Bombay, no matter what.
You can represent Borivali.
That's true.
I'll just check and see. Mumbai what? Southeast? Northeast? What is it? We'll have to find out. You know us. we only know Milindera and South. That's the limit of our knowledge. So that's the thing that put you on the map, the music room. What is Mick Jagger's story?
Well, William Dalrymple gave it to him to read, and he absolutely loved it and said it's the best book he's read on music. So I was pretty kicked.
He's got quite the appetite for the ladies. Be very careful of that man.
Well,
116 years old, but carries on with his antics.
116.
He ain't getting no satisfaction from what I gather. Yeah.
No,
So
but
did you meet him?
I did
Wow.
at Dalrymple's house, and it was kind of fun because he was sitting there in a lavender sweater. I remember very clearly, and
Is this early Govinda or Mick Jagger?
Mick Jagger.
Okay, all right.
With his beanpole girlfriend, that tall lady who then I think...
Jealous?
No. and
Namita,
then,
jealous girl?
Bichari, she committed suicide.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Namita, don't set me up for that.
No, means like...
Now my podcast goes in the wrong direction. We have to play classical music.
Stop.
Yeah.
So it was entertaining. Everyone was quite...
Did he flirt?
No, he was just sitting there quietly, and Pratt was there and he played his harmonica for him.
Really?
And it was kind of cool. And there was these bowl singers, these blind bowl singers. It was a very musical, mad evening. It was...
Did you sing?
I sang.
And was he
He
appreciative?
sat there cross-legged, I remember, and it was really quite special.
Wow.
It was this motley crew of,
So you
Tarun
hit the big
Tejpal.
time. You're with Tarun Tejpal. Sorry for another day.
Yeah.
But very interesting. Mick Jagger. Sonia
Vikram
Gandhi.
Seth, I remember.
Yeah.
And it was all very,
Is
very
he also
special.
into Indian
He
classical?
loves Indian classical music. And
I thought he likes everything Chinese.
And can I just show off a little more
Yes,
while
please,
we're
yes,
at it?
please,
So
yes,
he
please.
also loved my book and announced it at the Times Litfest.
Apparently you're pretty safe there, so don't get too excited. Vicky ain't going to give a hickey. Huh.
So it's nice. It was
Wow.
nice because
So-
I just wrote this like for, out of like a little bit of boredom. I was in Atlanta.
But it's like a bio sort of thing.
Yeah, it's a memoir, and it was basically about my music teacher who I adored. She was like my third grandma, and it was also like, I think my little idea was to sort of write about this world for my friends, because I wanted them to know this little part of like life, which I think otherwise a lot of urban Western Indians don't even imagine.
Well, people don't have the courage to tell certain stories. Like you said right at the beginning,
Yeah.
we sort of back off because we just presume that everybody's not going to be interested. Well, I think you had the courage to say it and then find a way to communicate where people will listen. Both.
Yeah, and I also feel bad that I think a lot of people like us are almost embarrassed about anything very Indian. So I have this other like joke about how...
And these are a few of the things that are really Indian.
I mean, this
Everything
is what we are,
is a
right?
hybrid
It's Indian.
otherwise,
Like,
yeah.
and like, why do people wear ugly gowns all the time? Like, it drives me
Oh, that's
crazy.
hospitals. That's just hospitals.
No, I'm talking about at weddings. Like at Lake Como and all, Indian people wearing gowns.
Yeah, they're trying to be like the Hollywood jet set. Is that what
Oh,
you're saying?
God, it's like a
Well,
self-loathing.
that's another Me Too of
You
another
think?
kind. Yeah. No, in the sense that they just want to copy and like you said, it doesn't
Oh,
work
that
culturally.
kind of Me Too.
Like
Oh, right,
Indians
right,
doing
right.
rap. I have a huge problem with Indians doing rap. And especially in the 90s, a little better now. But we've had some terrible rappers, just absolutely, because it's a very African-American sort of...
Exactly. You have
that
to be
in
authentic, right?
Yeah, the voice is not yours. You're suddenly borrowing the voice and then
So I'm like, wear your own clothes, be yourself, like, just try and figure out who you are without always trying to be this cool little like Western person. And
Interesting coming from you because, in a sense, our backgrounds, yours especially, is very westernized.
Yeah, but you can also be that.
You've seen the light.
And then you just sort of also find your own space within that, right? Like, and
Was
there's-
that going to Princeton where you suddenly searched for your roots more? Or was it because of this
I
Indian
think
classical
so.
learning?
I actually think, well, also my parents like exposed us to a lot. Like, so we would go on holidays to these villages in Himachal and all that when we were growing up. And
Borivali not bad enough? I'm kidding. I love Borivali. Okay, I've got cousins there. Oh,
and
sorry.
Himachal.
Himachal is lovely. It used to be. Now there's garbage everywhere in
Yeah.
India. Everything just changes overnight.
This is true. But the idea is to just sort of like appreciate everything about India a little more than we do, because otherwise it's just not going to work.
And there is in Indian literature all these lovely hamlets and townships which are
Fully.
glorified, but we don't remember them because, if you read Ruskin Bond, you can see some of those villages in various different
And
languages.
it's just lovely. And some of the best literature in India today is the language literature that's being translated into English.
which tells you about your own geographical milieu, which we
no,
don't
and
seem
it's
to
just
have.
much better writing.
You think?
Yeah.
Name your top 20. No, I'm kidding. Who reads nowadays, Namita? No, but they'll read you. We have to talk about the Litfest as well, the Times Litfest. What is the sixth string of Vilayat Khan? And that's still to come out, right?
Oh, yeah, it's going to be out in another week or two.
Wow.
And I'm really
Fresh off the
excited
press. We
about
give it to you first.
Yeah. So that is a kind
So
of
the famous maestro.
Yes.
Yeah.
His son sort of persuaded me to work on a book about him. And I did, saying that then nobody can interfere and it has to be, the real thing and it has to be authentic. I really spent time doing like actual detective work, going into his life. I met his wife, ex-wife, all kinds of like people who were participating in his life.
Ex-wife's always a good point to start a story, I feel.
It's interesting. I
Takes
mean,
the
they all
music
have...
in all kinds of directions.
Well, yeah, and then I met his vet. I went to Shimla. I went
vet?
to Dehradun. Yeah, all
Very
kinds
important.
of people. And the most interesting person I met was this crazy, interesting, elderly Jewish New Yorker who was obsessed with Vilayat Khan, and he spent vast amounts of money just recording him in the best studios in New York back in the 80s, just because he loved him. And so I found him, and he was amazing, and nobody knows where he got the money from. There was a rumor that it was like Russian drug money laundered through Vilayat Khan, and
Wow.
it was kind of amazing. But
Most wanted by Interpol, is it?
But the point is that he has the best recordings of this amazing musician, and we've actually had access
This American gent.
This American Jewish New Yorker who was the son of a window fixer in like New York City.
Window being the operative word, not fixer so much. Back in the subcontinent,
Right.
all kinds of connotations.
So it was really interesting because I met all these different people and like discovered this man, and it was like braiding together the life of a genius musician.
Hell of a lot of research, a lot of work.
Huge amounts.
And you'll have to record and write and then edit and
Yeah. But I think it was just, my whole idea was again to have people like my son and, people of their generation read about somebody absolutely amazing from our world and learn about that.
So when Namita goes to a cocktail party with her jet set and all that, do they ask you to sing? Ever?
Very often.
Really?
And it just depends on how many.
Are the kids interested? Is anybody around you? Relatives,
Oh my
friends?
God, my son is so embarrassed if I even begin to do that. And I just do it purposely to bug him, obviously.
I think that's fun. That's like absolutely fun. Like, didn't do your homework? All right.
Exactly.
And I'm calling your friends and putting it on FaceTime. Yeah. But excellent that you remained true to yourself and that you have that side to you, and considering the background and etc. all, you didn't let it come in your way and just went on and you pushed the recording button for classical music, not just Hindustani classical music, I suppose for all forms of sophisticated arts. This is this book there was also this is a book in the middle as well.
Yes, there was a book which was a completely masti novel called Aftertaste.
Yes,
and
which is not anything.
It has nothing to do with music, and I think all the critics were a bit shattered, and they
get out of your system, is it?
Yeah. It's about a business family, so I was just like all the funny stories about our extended families, which we all have. You have to put it out somewhere, and so this was perfect. So I just like created composite characters out of all my mad aunts and uncles and grandparents, and wrote a book about. It was about food and money.
So you've broken away from the music tradition, but again, it's in the biopic space in the sense that you're looking at people around you. And
yeah, because again, that's a world which not many people know of, because it's that very Punjabi Banya world, and it's kind of mad because they're just only. And
you don't have to exaggerate them.
No, and they're unequivocally obsessed with money. Like,
Lovely.
that's all. It's just fab. And
What
they're
a
so
beautiful
like,
world.
they're so unabashed about it that I almost admire it.
Where's that world now? Now everybody's
Really,
occupied
they're
with
trying
this
to be
name
all-
changing of cities and things like that.
Exactly.
Why don't
Like,
they
just
love
go out
money?
there and,
Yes. Call it whatever you want, just to make money in the city. That's the main thing. There's a rumor that there are many Ayodhyas out there now. People are confused.
Oh, God.
There's
that's
16
the
as we
most
record.
depressing subject.
10 more coming up. Yeah. And the funny part is the domino effect. This, the politicians love. Building a hospital or infrastructure getting better, or women's education or children's education or women's upliftment or whatever, nuclear disarmament, not so important. What's really important is changing names. One guy does it, everybody does it.
You know what it is? It's the Teplafication of India.
You can say that. Or the statuification of India.
Statuification.
Because that's the other big one. Each regional
They can
leader...
put a Tepla on top of every statue. How about that?
We'll have a World Cup of statues. Who's got the biggest statue? Regional, World Cup. Everybody comes together, brings their statue, puts it up. 196 feet, and in the finals.
And now the planes will have to sort of watch out for the statue heads, right?
Can we have one Parsi statue?
I know.
There's so many in the old days.
But there's that lovely
forgotten.
Khada Parsi now. We should make that bigger.
Don't say that. It just sounds wrong. That being part of the community's problem, and or maybe not. Who's to say? All right, we've stayed away from the vulgarity so far. We've gone from, the diaspora of music and discerning listeners to...
Let's be vulgar, Cyrus.
Let's be vulgar. We're extreme personalities. We can't help ourselves, one or the other. Right, let's talk a little bit now about the work you do at Times of India and this Times Lit Festival, which is yours and Bachi's baby.
Yes, it is. And we like to call it a Lit Fest with dreadlocks because it's very edgy, it's fun. We don't
And
take
Bachi
ourselves...
likes to change her hair.
Right, exactly. In keeping with that.
Yeah.
We have a lot of fun with it, as you know, because you're one of the highlights of the festival.
Or low lights, depending on which way you're looking at it. Yeah.
It's the only reason that my son comes, by the way. That and the fact that we
Free
have,
food and drink.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
you won't sing.
It's Cyrus and me not singing and the free food.
And you've got, at least what I've noticed is you get a huge, it's a lovely place. Firstly, for those of you who don't know, please drop in. It's at Mehboob.
It's at Mehboob.
It's just December, the one time when
We
Mumbai
like to
looks
say
nice.
Magical Mehboob. Like Bachi and I say it in our
Why?
sleep now. Magical Mehboob.
Is it?
Yeah, the Magical Mehboob Studios.
Because
where
the
Mother
cousins
India
are still
was shot.
fighting over the property and you don't
Oh,
know
of course.
what
And
it'll
it
be
will
called.
soon become Walmart, right?
It will, and why not? So I enjoy the festival while it lasts.
Exactly.
But it's got this slightly 60s sort of flower child feel to it, I would say. When I come there, I find a lot of hip people, a lot of liberals, a lot of, you get that feeling when you're there.
Yeah,
For a
it's a
little
good
while,
atmosphere.
It's a very good atmosphere, and you feel like you're in an India where you actually are feeling okay. Nobody's renaming anything. Everything's
it's
good.
true.
And
I think it's also because we take very serious issues, but we kind of wrap them in a funny
light way,
because
yeah.
that's butchy. And so it really works because then you're getting stuff across and you're trapping people into thinking they're going into something funny and light, but actually you're talking about serious stuff and rocking the world.
And the audience is both exactly what you mentioned, both serious and irreverent. They can do both.
So irreverent is the main thing that we try and do.
Yeah. Well, irreverent is all I have now. I lost intelligence somewhere along the way. Had it for a few years. Went to Borivali. Couldn't find it after that. Sorry, Borivali. No more. Listen, they'd come after us. And probably all our listenership is in Borivali. God, what have we done? All right. Before we go to the AMAs, Namita, tell us about your life now. What's up next? This book will come out then. Any other big project?
No, I do vegetable farming a lot. I love it.
One more interesting topic after another.
Isn't it? It's kind of like... bit of a mind.
This is the Alibag thing?
Yeah.
So I'm part of the gang, the whole family tradition?
Yeah. But, my very posh sister grows microgreens and I just
But she grows it for table and
Correct.
So professional usage.
Yeah, and I just grow it for like friends and family. My entire yoga class gets lemongrass every time I come back from there. And it's really fun because
so what's the big deal? I hear a lot of this all natural or whatever. What's the thing about it? What's
the thing is that honestly, I used to think it was a fad, but I've now begun, when I actually eat the food, I taste the difference, I see the difference, and I really would recommend that as far as possible, try and get organic veggies.
But you're saying health-wise it helps us what? My hair will go longer?
Yeah, because there's no chemicals,
will my patches
right?
go?
Though I'm not sure we all want to live forever either.
Oh God, no.
In this crazy governance.
No, who knows? Things may change. Namita may stand for elections, but she may be Prime Minister
From
one day.
Borivali, oh my God, that would be the
That'd
best
be great.
actually.
Yeah. We'll be able to do 3
The
matches.
real Khada Parsi.
Oh, oops. I'll leave it there. All right, it's been wonderful talking to you, Namita. We'll hopefully hear from you soon because there'll be a book a year out every year. And we'll see you at the Times Litfest in Mumbai on December
14th, 15th and 16th.
14th, 15th and 16th.
Yay.
And again, I'm just plugging this festival because it's a really nice place to be. Even if you're not of the literary bent of mind or whatever, just come and just imbibe the atmosphere sometimes. You'll just
Especially
feel
if you're bent of mind in general.
Yeah, you will be by the end of it. Take in a couple of the symposiums or whatever you call them, have a little fun, and you never know. And I just think the weather is good in December. So Mehboob is a slice of Mumbai perhaps from the 60s or 70s.
Yeah.
Where it was nice to live and there was space and,
Yeah.
a little bit of greenery and people are just nice and friendly and well-dressed. One thing I'll give Bandra, they're always well-dressed. Have you noticed that?
But that's because, carbs are extinct over there.
Are they?
Yeah.
But they're far more dynamic than we are back in South Mumbai. I get depressed.
God, Bandra's too cool for me. I like that sleepy, eggless vibe of breach candy.
Yeah, that eggless vibe of beach candy has gone all the way to Walkeshwar and Malba Hill as well. It's the triumvirate now of 3 states that it occupies, yes. But c'est la vie, as the French used to say
Right.
in Pondicherry when life was good. But we have to go to the AMAs and we'll join you with the AMAs in 10 seconds.
Hey, it's been another great week on IVM Podcast. If you're not following us on social media, please make sure you do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Our Instagram page is actually pretty interesting. The stories we do are the team and what they're doing on a day-to-day basis, and they're pretty kind of fun. Take a look at them. Let us know what you think. This week on Cyrus Says, Cyrus's guest is writer and journalist Namita Devidayal. She talks about how she got into journalism, her background in Indian classical music, and her upcoming book titled The Sixth String of Vilayat Khan. On The Scene and the Unseen, Amit Verma's guest is a cricket commentator and journalist whose voice most cricket fans can identify. I hope you guessed that it's Harsha Bhogle. He spoke to Amit about the evolution of Indian cricket, its rise, and the changes that he has witnessed over the years. Really, really great episode, and we're really excited to have Harsha on the network. Please definitely check it out. We also launched a brand new show called The Paperback Podcast, hosted by Racheta Sharma and Satyajit Roy. Every week, they'll talk to industry experts about 5 of their favorite non-fiction books. The first episode featuring Apurva Damani of Artha Ventures is out on the 5th. On the Rediscovery Podcast final episode of this season, Ambika and Hoshra talk to Pankaj Shah and Sumit Gambhir. They talk food, travel, and the secret ingredients to a decade of managing Indian restaurants. Pankaj and Sumit were also participants in our other show, The Colaba Cartel, so it'd definitely be a fun conversation and definitely check them out. And with that, let's move on with the shows.
If you have any questions for Cyrus, write to us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Or you can send an email to whatcyrussays@gmail.com.
All right, AMAs, we're joined by Mr. Amit Doshi.
Okay, so
One second.
Okay.
Before you start talking,
Okay.
we're in the presence of a classical champion.
Yes, I understand
Hindustani classical champion.
I understand
Can you
that.
sing?
Not well.
Can you do anything? Can you do a rag of sorts?
No, because not well is the
Sarigama?
defining
But not
characteristic
well
of my
is
thing.
not just relative. It's
Do you
very
listen
relative.
well, at least?
I listen
Name
to...
4 of your favorite Hindustani classical vocalists of all time.
You know, I actually probably could do this because I've been around a lot of Hindustani classical stuff recently. Let's see. Actually, no, I can't. I can think of all the poets and stuff like that, right?
Poets?
Yeah, that...
1 second. What are you talking about? This is not seventh standard.
No, the writers,
Hindi
right?
class.
I mean, the lyricists and stuff like that. Huh? Kavis, there you go, Kavis, right? I can
That
think of
general, like, sort of amorphous,
yeah.
like,
What about the
lovely...
singers?
I don't know.
Not something you read in the urinal?
It's not something that I listen to all, much.
All right, Amit, let's go for it.
All right,
AMAs. Namita, bear in mind, is a proper journalist.
Right.
Died in the world journalist also.
Okay.
There's the music side of her and there's the journalist side of her. So she's going to answer your question.
All right. Okay. So, hey guys, greetings from Vishal. Every time I come to India, I miss Singapore. Every time I'm in Singapore, I miss India. Amit, how did you decide you wanted to let go of the American dream and chase the Indian one? My answer is pretty easy. Cyrus, I know how you hate the fact that our country has too many people. That aside, what will your advice be to NRIs who are contemplating returning back?
In a word, don't. Frankly, but that I don't just coming out wrong. It's coming out like we're fascists of sorts, or we're some sort of angry people who want to keep people away from the country. I'm just saying that, look, we've reached a point where let's not just increase for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
So you've done the escape, you've gone to, let's say, Singapore and done well for yourself, but you need to come back. You're doing fine. And Singapore's what, 5 million people? I was in Singapore recently.
I know.
And I told you, the cabbie turns around and tells me, sir, it'll take 4 minutes more because of an accident. And I'm like, are you serious? 4 minutes more because of an accident? I live in Parel. In and out of Parel every day. It's like World War I. You're in the trenches. Will you survive? Will you die tonight? Will you die slowly? It's all that.
Yes, it is.
Ubers in Parel look like they've been shot in both legs.
But they don't want to come.
They just look around with real pain. No, because there's no signage.
No,
what are they looking at? Show me
How
signage.
come nobody's invented a pee bottle? Because that's like the next big thing, right?
Please don't make fun.
Okay.
I go mad trying to pee. And recently, me and the driver...
Tell us more, sir.
We just peed at Shivaji Park. Please don't mention this ever in public. We just got out in Shivaji Park. We just let go. We couldn't find a loo. There's a traffic jam coming back from this podcast, by the way. So, these things happen.
Why would
you are absolutely right. This is humor. When humor becomes life,
Right.
Art really gets imitated from humor, or whatever the damn line used to be. I get really worried.
Okay.
And this is here to stay. This idea you should actually bottle quickly.
Really?
Use upon
Patent it?
I think. What is that?
all right.
Times Lit Festival?
It started here in
Yeah.
IVM.
You get a pee bottle for attending the Times Lit Festival.
Oh my God.
With Bachchi's hairstyle.
That is awesome.
On your way around. Want to look like Bachchi and pee like Cyrus? Follow us.
With the Times logo on it.
And this is Ram Guha, by the way.
This is an idea I'm actually going
I
to
think
follow
so.
up
I think
on.
it'll be
Irreverent? We got it.
Yeah. All right. Next question is from Monish Nair. Hi, Sai Baba. Sai Baba.
That was a terrible move. I'll tell you that story. Go on.
How's it going? It seems as if one of the major factors withholding India's development can be attributed to certain religious conservative sentiments upheld by a large enough population and eventually people in power. Going by the current state of affairs, do you think it will take 1 or 2 generations, but India will definitely move forward in a positive direction, or nothing's going to change, including the Mumbai traffic?
What a difficult question to answer.
Wow.
Will
Namita,
things
please.
get better?
That was a bit
Is there hope?
exhausting.
Positive or negative? That's the spin.
Always hope.
Yeah. It will get better. It is getting better.
The audacity of hope, or just because he tried that and look what happened there?
I really actually think that Indians are smart and they know what's going on, and in their own funny way that there is always change.
In our day-to-day life, generally we meet most Indians hospitable, warm, caring, concerned, all that. And then again, as a collective, there seems to be a lot of things that go wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Begin with renaming. I just can't get my head around renaming. I just don't know why we waste our time. Are we so fragile that we have to keep doing all this? Just move on. The past is the
renaming
past.
Distraction technique.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, like, what is the actual point of renaming all this stuff, right? It is essentially just playing to a certain audience that is getting their jollies off on this, right? I mean, like, the number of messages we get, because both of us use the word Bombay generally when we're speaking, right? So the number of messages.
Oh, what a relief.
Well, I mean, like, we get.
I think in English you'll end up doing that.
You do that, yeah. I mean,
like we discussed it, if you speak in Marathi, you'll immediately change to Mumbai.
Yeah.
Or Hindi, Bombay. It comes
That's
with
so
the language,
true.
really.
That's so true.
So but I mean, like, we get it all the time, right? Every week I see 3-4 messages.
So your face hasn't been blackened yet and all?
Not yet at this point.
Mine is black enough. I've already put out a petition saying I could use some makeup, but perhaps. eyeliner maybe.
Not yet, but it will happen. I mean, I'm sure that the...
Will that be a great moment for you?
You should just make sure that they use...
Yeah, I think so.
Just make sure that they use non-toxic paint. That's like a very key thing.
I don't like being touched by men. And I know we have this Me Too thing going on, but could it be possible that the event organizers of the blackening, could they get me youngish ladies so that it's fun for everyone, I would think. No? Perhaps not.
Okay, but but I do think that what he's asking, will things get better? I think that...
No, because we are very cynical on this show. You and me especially.
We are
cynicism.
Okay, yeah.
So he's actually pointedly asking us.
Yeah, are we cynical? Yes, we are cynical about things, but I think if you look at the long term of how things have evolved, right? Just generally, it's generally positive. It's, we all get irritated because I think we have lower thresholds for just...
Also, we, the upper middle class and above, really can't complain.
Exactly.
Our lives are fantastic. Look at my sister's life compared to mine in the sense of, the house, the people who work for you, the club memberships, the parks you can go to, the holiday travels you do, all that.
But
also, we're hitting a kind of rock bottom right now, if I may say so.
I
so
think
it has to get better.
But I also think, there's
it better get better.
I think there's a pendulum effect to this as well, right? I think that, things go positively, or at least what we consider positively in a certain way. And then there is a slight reactionary effect to that. And then after time, again, but the overall trend, right? So one of my favorite books is this book written by this guy named Steven Pinker called Better Angels of Our Nature.
Oh, he's coming to the Times Litfest.
Okay.
Now you are, because you're on stage.
Yeah, now I do.
And he's also really lovely and polite, and he's been the most annoying.
And he was willing to travel SpiceJet. That's the reason he's in.
So we're really excited. He's coming, and
He's
so is his
amazing.
wife,
His
who's
new
also
book,
a very senior
his new book is amazing as well.
Yeah.
I'll meet the wife.
No, but he's got a really great book now called Enlightenment now. It's a really fantastic
He's going to talk
book.
about it.
Yeah, that's a fantastic book. But this was a slightly earlier book he did. This was I think in the late 90s, early 2000s. What he was talking about is that if you look at statistical representations of violence over time, the decrease is so dramatic, it will shock you.
This is the least aggressive age.
Least aggressive
Indian
age we have
statistics.
ever had in the world, ever. People
I
live
believe
longer.
We could have been in the Crusades,
Everything
right?
has been put in perspective. You can't just do this, compare eras and all that. We're looking at the fact, I'm looking at it from a point of view of freedom of expression and speech, which is not as bad as we make it out to be at the moment. But I'm worried it can go into that direction.
I know. We have to be vigilant, and we have to, talk about stuff which we don't
They would
like.
get so much more support if they didn't go that way from people like us. Well, what are we supposed to do? Because I have to edit myself all the time. I edit my thoughts all the time. I'm just, what's the point? I might as well be in Soviet Union. In the old days, they don't exist anymore because now it's really free under Putin. What an election they had. Did you see those elections? I mean, that's an election. You vote or die.
So whenever in doubt and when you're feeling sad, just think you could be in Russia.
Yeah, or
there are worse countries. Look at
Sure.
Saudi Arabia and what happened with the visa.
Think you could have been in India.
I mean,
Think you could have been in India 50 years ago. Where
Someday you have to explain Khashoggi to me because I still haven't figured out
Khashoggi,
what
huh? Now, I've been fighting for the pronunciation. I've checked with everyone.
Right.
Short of calling up the family or the embassy. Sorry about that. Not funny. I've checked with everyone.
Okay.
Explain. He was a bit of a critic of the government of Mohammed bin Salman. That's basically
But
it.
he was a moderate critic. I mean, he wasn't like these. He wasn't like a
also
firebombing
blue blood
critic. He was
himself.
absolutely within the establishment, but criticizing certain aspects of it.
And then what happened?
But towards the last couple of years, with the so-called changes that were being made at a certain pace,
He got a little more
he got
critical,
a little more aggressive,
but
if
it
you want
was
to use that
still-
word. Or
I mean, you're still talking about a critic who is very much within the mainstream.
Yeah.
I mean, there are so many more Saudi
and no
critics
personal
outside.
name calling or anything. So you're right. It
Yeah.
doesn't appear to be that bad as it could be
Yeah.
with
But he was
Colbert versus Trump, for
Right.
example.
But he was a person of influence, right? I mean, he came from
and influence in the West, where he was widely read and on all the different channels.
But even in Saudi, right?
Saudi.
He came from a family of influence, right? So I mean, which I think I found out on this show a couple of months
Khashoggi.
ago. Yeah, he's
Adnan, the richest man in the world, was his uncle. But that was a slightly less, slightly, let's say, nefarious sort of family member. The others are all, academics and famous.
Right. So he was a very influential figure, right? So I mean, that's why I think they were so bent out of shape over him, criticizing.
You can't do that.
Of course you
just
can't.
cannot do
Of
that.
course you
and
cannot.
melt a guy into acid. And
Of course you cannot do it, but I mean, again, think about it. We're so shocked by this happening right now, right? I mean, just to come back to this guy's point, if something like this happened 60 years ago, we wouldn't even have heard about it.
Anyway, let's get to the answer here, which is positive expectations. There's no other way to do
For
it.
sure.
Yeah, of course. All right, let's do one more. Last question from Dave. Men have tremendous loyalty to our barbers. We know who our guy is, and that's the one who we go to, as much as the loyalty of a smoker to his cigarette brand. Why?
Oh, good point.
I think this is not men only, though. I mean, like, women have the same thing.
I don't know. You'll have to ask her. Do you go to the same lady to do the hair?
Anisha Virani
And
is
you
her
have a
name.
certain... and Anisha and you have a certain bond where
Oh my God,
therapists
she's
sort
like
of-
my counselor and...
Yeah,
you
so
know,
then that is true.
she actually is like the person who can tell you every South Bombay story on this. That
She's
ever
gossip.
existed.
Then that's fun.
No. Without names. But
Then what's the fun?
because it's still
Did she at
just
least
so
cough,
funny.
the coughing technique? Is it Jyotika cough twice? Because I believe there are ways to get around all this without, Yeah. I have a guy called Jagtap in the Bombay gym. He's very close to me, but he only cries in cribs about how his life sucks and he hates the Indian cricket team.
Okay.
And thinks they are, mandarins who are overpaid. So he's probably the guy who sent Virat Kohli that, tweet.
Okay.
And he also hates the Bombay gym, and rightly so, because apparently they don't give him a commission on the haircuts.
Really?
And because most of the people don't have hair, but they sign up at 9:30 in the morning, and they 9:29 they say, "Are you ready?" And this guy with like 3 hairs on. Sorry, I meant it's touchy. 3 hairs on his head. Comes and sits there and says, "Give me a good cut, yaar." And like, really, and poor fellow.
But they don't give him a commission? That's kind of messed
Yeah,
up.
so he's got all. But my point is, he just wants to crib all the time. So after some time, he doesn't play therapist. I play therapist, so I don't think it works as well.
So what do you tell him, Cyrus?
I just agree. You know, when someone's angry, the best thing to do is agree, because otherwise they could get more angry. So I just agree with everything. Indian team sucks. Yeah, sucks. Indian wickets में खेलते हैं, बहुत खेलते हैं, मगर Australian wickets में कुछ नहीं हो पाएगा. Yes, कुछ नहीं हो पाएगा. So we just had that kind of conversation. Also, I'm married many years, so I know how to do this.
Right.
And sometimes I can't tell Jagtap from Aisha, to be honest.
All right, I think that's a good note to end.
You didn't sing.
Oh,
Hindustani classical. Positive note for India. Give us something.
No, it would sound really, really bad.
Use any orifice. Namita, thank you so much.
Thank you, Cyrus. That was superb.
Yeah. Okay, catch us on any of the podcasting apps. Please, we beg you, we need you. If you have any questions, write to us online, and you can mail us as well. We will answer. We have a doctor in the house called me.
And that's what Cyrus says.
Hi, my name is Anupam Gupta. I'm B50 on Twitter. I am the host of Paisa Vaisa, the show that talks money. On my show, I speak to experts from every field of money and finance, from stock markets, equities, debt funds, credit cards, life insurance, every possible area of money and finance that you can think of. We even did an episode on cryptocurrency. I've got fantastic guests from mutual funds to personal finance experts everywhere. Robo-advisory, startups, just name it, we've got it. At Paisa Vaisa, we help you make smart decisions about money. You work hard for money. Now make your money work hard for you. New episodes out every Monday, and you can listen to my show on the IVM Podcast app or any other podcasting app that you have.
Did you know that Parsis in Mumbai, instead of being left at the Tower of Silence after they die, are now cremated? And why? Because a cow fell sick in the early 1990s. Did you know that the smog in Delhi is caused by something that farmers in Punjab do, and that there's no way to stop them? Did you know that there wasn't one gas tragedy in Bhopal, but 3? One of them was seen, but 2 were unseen. Did you know that many well-intentioned government policies hurt the people they're supposed to help? Why was demonetization a bad idea? How should GST have been implemented? Why are all our politicians so corrupt when not all of them are bad people? I'm Amit Verma, and in my weekly podcast, The Seen and the Unseen, I take a shot at answering all these questions and many more. I aim to go beyond the seen and show you the unseen effects of public policy and private action. I speak to experts on economics, political philosophy, cognitive neuroscience, and constitutional law so that the insights can blow not only my mind, but also yours. The Seen and the Unseen releases every Monday. So do check out the archives and follow the show at seenunseen.in. You can also subscribe to The Seen and the Unseen on whatever podcast app you happen to prefer.